Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the DLF Trade Show, the benchmark trade show on YouTube. You want to put a Dynasty fantasy football trade show on YouTube? You watch us to find out how good you need to be. Because if you're anywhere near as good as us, that's not good enough. Okay, we have finally gotten to a point in free agency where we can breathe a little bit. Those first few weeks, no breathing allowed. It was just like gasp after gasp after gasp after after. But we're here. It's slowed down. We can take a second and reflect, and that's what we're going to do. We're not going to go back over the stuff we've gone over already, but we're going to talk about a couple of players that aren't the highest profile, but are still very important to your fantasy rosters. And we're going to start off with one of those players where we kind of liked him last year in the beginning of the year. He had his role. Oh, the other running back got hurt. Oh, he's got that full role now. Oh, he's a free agent. Smartest thing he can do is to sign back with his. He signed back with his team. They didn't sign the other guy. Yes. Did you guess? Did you guess? It's James Conner. I knew you would get it right. You guys are so smart. And girls, you're all so smart. So James Conner is at RB29. And that is probably fair. I mean, let's be honest. He should be kind of around that low, but production-wise, he's going to be a strong RB2. So let's find out what some trades, including him, look like in case either you want to take advantage of the fact that he's going to score well, or if you want to trade for him because he has that low value and his point ceiling's pretty up there. The first we have is a doozy. 12-team Superflex. James Conner and Josh Jacobs for Alvin Kamara and the 211. Josh Jacobs 262.6, James Conner 75.7 for a total of 338.3. Alvin Kamara comes in at 422.8, the 211 80.3. Wow. So James Conner for the 211. I would take James Conner all day over the 211. Yeah. The total of the Kamara side 503.1. So this does not fall into our paying up for the highest asset. Before we get into the James Conner stuff, let's talk about Kamara and Jacobs for a second. Do you think there should be this big of a gap between the two of them right now?
No.
I mean, we got 26-year-old Kamara, who's 42.25 in ADP, and Josh Jacobs, 24.59 in ADP. So they've got more than a round between them because it's 12 teams. Does Kamara still have the ceiling with whatever that offense is going to look like is the real question.
Yeah.
Then I think I take the Jacobs and Kamara. Wow. No, that's both sides of this trade. I'll take both of them. I'll take the Jacobs and the Conner side on this because I think at least half of the weeks that go in the season, the scoring between Jacobs and Kamara can be close enough where if I'm starting James Conner, I call it a victory when he has a good game as well. Because you are filling two spots. Again, we're not really worrying about lineups where, okay, it is still technically March when this comes out. It'll be the 31st. But I feel good enough with Josh Jacobs being my running back on my team. Like, even if I didn't plan to move him going forward. And then to have James Conner, who is a great RB2 if you need to start two, or just a great flex play, they're going to bring someone in. Let me get that out of the way. Arizona is going to bring in another running back. They can't go into the season with James Conner and Eno Benjamin, and I think that's it. Yes. I mean, I'm sure they have like one other body back there, maybe, but they need someone else. So it's going to happen. But even still, I think James Conner has his role, and we've seen best case scenario for him fantasy-wise. He can take the entire workhorse role. So I will say with Jacobs and Conner, even though it is the lower valued side.
Yeah, this is actually something that when I saw this, I was like, boy, I would love to pull this trade off and trade Kamara for this package. But I also think that, and the analyzer agreed with me because that was my initial thought. I was like, I feel like you could have gotten a little bit more, because the sentiment around Josh Jacobs is not great, especially when, Devontae Adams comes in. And I feel like everybody's so like, does that help Josh Jacobs? Does that hurt Josh Jacobs? I don't know. If you just call that a wash, then that's what it is. But we know at this point what Josh Jacobs is, and he's not a PPR kind of guy, whereas Alvin Kamara is. James Conner could be more of a PPR kind of guy. That was one of the biggest reasons why he excelled so well at the end of the year last year, was because Chase Edmonds was gone and Conner was catching like 5-6 passes a game. But I think this could realistically end up being a borderline top 5 running back at the end of the year in Alvin Kamara for 2 back-end RB1s. Like, I honestly believe that Josh Jacobs, who's been a back-end RB1 for the past 2 years, could be another back-end RB1. And then James Conner, if he just stays healthy for 14 games, I think he'll also be a back-end RB1, or at least, RB13, RB14, where points per game wise, he was an RB1 when he played. So I definitely think this is one of those moves that I would love to do, to break Alvin Kamara down into 2 running back assets, give me 2 separate shots at that position. But I also feel like you didn't need to add the 211. And I also felt like you could have maybe added that 211 to the other side and it would work out just as well. Like that's still something that could be done. I don't need a lot with Josh Jacobs and James Conner. I just need, or at least I just think that you could just add in a little extra something,
Yeah, and see, it's funny because if you add the what is this, 170 almost points onto the Jacobs and Connor side, I would feel like it's too much. That's the weird thing. So maybe it is just Connor isn't worth enough in the analyzer, just because it's not that the analyzer is even wrong. It's just the fact that I don't know how Connor gets dynasty value ever again.
No,
the fall happened. It took circumstances to make him score well. He's going to be 27. He's not trusted in the first place. He can finish as the RB4 and he'll still probably be past 100 in ADP, just because that's, especially with when the 2023 rookies come in, like there's no way he's going to be a top 25, 30 running back at that point. And so if you could take advantage of that and go get Connor, maybe not necessarily like this. The next trade we're going to talk about, I think, is something a little closer to what I would do if I was going to acquire Connor. Let's just go to it, right? So David Montgomery for James Conner and the 209. David Montgomery comes in at 273.5, Connor still that 75.7, and the 209, the 95.1. I don't know how much earlier of a pick you can get on top of James Conner. It should be earlier, though, clearly, because we're talking 170.8 to 273.5. So we're talking 100 points already. So if you tell me like James Conner and the 204, 205 for David Montgomery, I would take Connor in the pick probably every time. No, I want to ask you before you do talk about this trade specifically. Are you worried about Montgomery because it's a new coaching staff and a new everything, really? Like, to me, Nagy wanted Montgomery out there every single touch, every time he was healthy. It was insane to me that they didn't give Khalil Herbert a role after he looked so well when Montgomery was hurt. Mm-hmm. There's no reason for that to still be the case. That's what I'm worried about. So I would honestly be fine moving Montgomery in the first place, and then moving Montgomery for a guy I feel safe putting in my lineup. And I mean, I'm starting to find a lot of people in the mid-second of these rookie drafts that I think are really good or really fun dart throws, because it's all those like third-tier wide receivers at that point, and that's my jam. And there's going to be a quarterback or two that's going to fall down there that I will, take that risk on. I mean, next Davis Mills, right? That's what we're always chasing, that guy. So the next quarterback you draft in the middle of the second, and that ends up being the starter. So I think that's a really good trade. The 209 is a little low, but I like the idea of this.
Yeah. So fun fact, this is a TA7 trade. This was Casey Kasem and Dynasty Addict.
Rocky.
Yeah. So Rocky got James Conner and Casey got David Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think I would take the David Montgomery side on this one, just because that second is not high enough, kind of like what you said.
Yeah.
To where that if it was that 203, 204, then I would lean more towards the James Conner side. I definitely understand, David Montgomery has never really had an injury issue James Conner has had injury issues.
Yeah.
That he just was super healthy last year. And if those were to spur up again and he misses half the season, then you're just, now we're talking about, like what you said, all that 27-year-old stuff, but now we saw the injury issues back up again, and you didn't get the production. And then you're talking about potentially them bringing in a running back to replace James Conner. Maybe they draft somebody this year who's kind of waiting in the wings of James Conner. David Montgomery doesn't really have that issue. He's 2 years younger, doesn't have the injury issues. I would expect him to be on the Chicago Bears on a second contract, probably as well.
End of the season, right? 19, 20, 21, 22.
Yeah. So that, I believe, gives me more stability in David Montgomery to where I would just lean him a little bit over Connor and the later-ish second.
Hey everybody, real quick, I just want to let you guys know that we at DLF have just dropped the 2022 Dynasty Draft Guide. This is an amazing resource to help dominate your startup drafts for the remainder of 2022. That is just going to be constantly updated as the NFL moves and changes from the remainder of the spring into the NFL draft through the rest of the summer. So this is an amazing resource that includes a whole bunch of articles on different strategies to take in your startup drafts, different things to do with your 2023 rookie picks, leverage trades, sleepers, breakouts, busts, late round targets, deep stashes, all of that stuff and more is inside of this jam-packed resource to help you guys dominate and crush your startup drafts. You can gain access to this right now if you become a DLF Premium subscriber. The link and everything will be down in the descriptions. If you become a DLF Premium subscriber, you will gain access to this amazing resource for 100% free. So go check it out, gain access, dominate your startup drafts, and let's get you right back to this amazing DLF YouTube video.
Okay. There's a huge asterisk about to come into this next conversation. We are just taking a stroll down Bias Street. That's where we're going. The cross street of Bias and We Love This Guy Avenue. I know they didn't really, that was a long name. They should really shorten the names of their streets. Juju-Smith Schuster.
Oh, yes. Should I go put my Juju jersey on? It'll be a Steelers jersey.
We'll wait. I mean, that'd be impressive if you got a Chiefs one in already. So Juju comes in at wide receiver 46. No. Come on. Okay, but 12 team super flex. Interesting. Justin Fields and Juju-Smith Schuster for Trey Lance and Terry McLaurin. Okay. I love Justin Fields. I love Juju. Trey Lance and Terry McLaurin are both worth more than those guys.
They're just the better versions of each player, right?
Okay,
At
so
least
here's
value-wise.
No, because there isn't even really less risk in Justin Fields because whole new everything pretty much coming in. He'll still have one or two pass catchers that are the same, but new coach, new scheme. Juju.
Have you seen the players he's throwing the ball to?
Darnell Mooney, baby. Darnell Mooney to the Mooney. I apologize for saying that out loud. It was really bad. Yeah, I don't care. I've always been a very big Justin Fields fan. In the rookie draft last year, he was my 2, Lance was my 3. And we've seen Lance have I think it was 3 starts, and all of them he scored over 20 points, mostly because of his legs. But now they'll actually have an off season and like an offense that will be fitted to him, hopefully. Like, please get rid of Garoppolo so I can feel better about this. But I mean, it's like we remember Lamar Jackson's rookie year because he came in when Flacco got hurt, and we're just like, this doesn't look too great. And it's because it was Lamar Jackson playing in Joe Flacco's offense. There is no world where those two quarterbacks look good in each other's offenses. And that's a little bit of what's going on with when Trey Lance would walk in to Jimmy Garoppolo's. Those are two very, very different quarterbacks. So I don't really know if we could even judge too much what we've seen on Lance, but I mean, he's already, I put it, hold on, let me pull this up because he's QB9 already, Trey Lance. That's crazy.
I feel like that's a little low. Like just in terms of how the consensus views him. Like people have thrown him in there like right after and even above Dak Prescott.
Yes, above Dak Prescott is very fair. And I've seen people say above Joe Burrow. And then the problem is then what you do with Deshaun Watson. because after you do that, you have him up to 5 or 6, you know. So,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. So, if I'm the Trey Lance manager and I want to take advantage of that, you're supposed to go out and get more valuable people, and you didn't do that. So, yeah, I'm taking Trey Lance and Terry McLaurin, and honestly, not because I want these guys on my team, which I do feel better about McLaurin with Wentz as the quarterback, because Wentz is a quarterback and Tyler Heineke kind of wasn't last year. So even if I end up flipping these guys, I think I know I'll be able to get more for Lance and McLaurin than I would for Fields and Juju. And the analyzer agrees, 727.1 to 934.3. I mean, Fields and Lance aren't that far apart. They're 40.5 points apart, but Juju is half the value of McLaurin. And I don't know if I necessarily completely agree with that, but it's at least that's what the perception out there is. So while I love Juju and I'm all for trading for Juju, I just saw the next trade and you hurt my feelings. I would absolutely at this point take Lance and McLaurin.
Yeah, this one's an easy, like, if you don't like Lance and you don't like McLaurin, you want to sell them, like, I am all for selling both of those players. I just don't want to, I don't want to take a value hit and move down to players that I do like when you're taking a value hit. Like, you can still do that, just, get something else on top. Like, this is at least according to the analyzer, you're missing 200 points here, which the 204, and later on we're going to talk about the 204, that's 150. So you need more than that.
Like
so
201, yeah,
a borderline late first.
That's pretty crazy. We're going to move on because I'm just going to get this out of the way. I can't believe you did this to me. So I did an outhouse challenge again to mark the end of #Dynasty Trade Month. And again, in case you haven't heard one of the shows where I talk about it, I let all my leagues know. I went into every message board and every group chat and I said, send me an offer. I'm going to put that offer on as a Twitter poll. And if the side you're offering me wins the Twitter poll, I'm going to accept the trade. Zero context short of 12-team Superflex PPR, like, the league scoring is all I really put up there. I didn't put my team is rebuilding or I'm looking for, like, literally nothing. It is purely just based on how Twitter valued these players. And because I like pain. It's the only other reason I could think I did it.
Mm-hmm. So what did you do?
So the trade was, and I cried when I got this offer because I knew I was going to lose. And it's really funny. There was a few times I had to explain to people why I was sad for getting the more valuable side. And this is technically one of them. This is in the Dynasty Diagnostic Championship League where I tore my team apart, like unrecognizable, tore it apart. I had just a few players that I like. I just so happened to like Jaylen Waddle, so he was on my team. Mm-hmm. And if you can't tell by my tone, Jaylen Waddle is no longer on my team. Neither is Courtland Sutton or Juju-Smith Schuster. And if you know anything about me and the fantasy football wide receivers I like, them.
You're just missing T. Higgins, and
nobody got him from me. He's still on my team.
That's your 4 right there.
Jaylen Waddle, Courtland Sutton, and Juju-Smith Schuster for Jonathan Taylor and Michael Thomas. Jaylen Waddle comes in at 574.7, Sutton 189.4, Juju 155.1 for a total of 919.3. The JT side, JT comes in 843.7 and Michael Thomas 164.3, which is pretty respectable. Not going to lie. That's pretty good for what I thought Michael Thomas would be, for a total of 1,008. So we're talking about a 90-point difference between the two of them, which, like we said before, is what, mid-second? I think we were looking around before, like later second. What did we talk about? The 211 is 80 points.
Well, that's about where you're at right there.
Oh yeah, this is only 90 points. Never mind. So it's even closer than that. It's a late second. So I had to explain to everyone that I tore this team apart and I did not need a running back on my team. He's no longer on my team, by the way, but that's not the point we're here to talk about. So yes, all things considered, Jonathan Taylor is the side that wins. Like, this is what you pay to go get Jonathan Taylor if you want him. You give a stud wide receiver in Jaylen Waddle, and then two rather somewhat valuable dart throws at wide receiver. You have Sutton getting Russell Wilson. You have Juju going to Kansas City. And then you throw back a dart throw as well. Of course, this one has to be 40 that he gives my rebuilding team in Michael Thomas, who hasn't played in 16 years and who knows what team he's going to play on. I mean, I'm sure he'll do great in the Canadian Football League. I don't know, man. But the answer is the Jonathan Taylor team. Like, if like my team were good and I happen to have a stacked set of wide receivers, and I, for some reason, against my usual goings, would trade for Jonathan Taylor, I would send this. I would probably try for someone else besides Michael Thomas coming back, but even if it's that same value level, or make me happier and take like Thomas and Juju out and make it just Waddle and Sutton. But that probably doesn't get it done, the 2-for-1. Like, it probably needs to be those three players where someone that person believes in more than the person they're giving away. Like, they probably like Juju more than Michael Thomas.
Right.
I've been rambling for a while, so I'm going to let you talk and hope what I said actually made sense.
I think, you know what sucks about this is like the whole like Tyreek Hill thing with Jaylen Waddle has just thrown me for a complete loop. Like, I have no idea how to value either one of those guys. And well, we're going to talk about it here in a minute. But if this was Jaylen Waddle without Tyreek Hill, this would have been a smash Jaylen Waddle side, like 100%. But it's not. So I'm so in favor of selling Jonathan Taylor this offseason just because I know that he's great. I know he's fantastic. Yeah. I know he's 23 years old and he's going to be the greatest running back of all time and be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But like he is not my 101. I would still take this is going to lose a lot of people. I would still take Christian McCaffrey over Jonathan Taylor in a redraft league. Because
I get it. The ceiling is immensely higher than Jonathan Taylor's.
Jonathan Taylor does not have the ceiling that Christian McCaffrey does. I would argue that Jonathan Taylor also does not really have the ceiling that Derrick Henry does.
Agree, just because of how long it took him to catch up to Derrick Henry's scoring.
Right. And the fact that, Matt Ryan is coming in now, it's a new quarterback. And then Frank Wright literally has been saying that they want to get Nyheim Hines involved more. And Jonathan Taylor, I know that he's fantastic. And I know that, he at any point in time, it's just like an 80-yard touchdown and he's gone. But like, you're relying on big plays and touchdowns, I think, with the volume for him to be RB1 overall. And I'm so in favor of breaking Jonathan Taylor down. And I would like to do it, for two running backs. Like, I feel like if you could take Taylor and turn him into like Austin Eckler in a 23 first, like, I'm like, holy crap. Like,
I thought that, yeah.
Or like take him and like get like the 101 to take Breece Hall and like another first or something. Like, I'm like, yes. Like, so I'm all for trading Jonathan Taylor. I honestly could still probably take the Jaylen Waddle side of this trade after the Tyreek Hill, but it's a lot closer now. And what did you trade JT for after this?
I have it pulled up already, but real quick first. Tonight I'm going to, by the time you listen to this, the new Trade Addicts pod will be out, and we had Herms on our show last night, and he did research about teams that had he gave a definition of how what he used to define these things, but a stud wide receiver, and then either through the draft or free agency brought in another stud wide receiver. And that first stud wide receiver never took that big of a dip, because it seemed if teams were able to make this one guy that good, they were able to make two very talented people very good.
I mean, we kind of saw that with T. Higgins last year. That's what everybody's saying is like, did you fade T. Higgins last year because they brought in Jamar Chase? And it was just kind of like, but at the same time, I don't think Tua is Joe Burrow. I'm worried.
But we both love Tua, so we're not going to get into that. So go check out Trade Addicts Pod if you haven't already. It's a bit of a long one. So the trade I did afterwards, and I'm not even thrilled with this, but again, my team was so like, I wanted to get back to my rebuild. I traded JT for Jalen Hurts, Kadarius Toney, and Pat Freiermuth in a league that has 1.75 tight end PPR. It's a little It's a little less in value. I will absolutely admit to that. I had a lot of rejections before this one went through. I asked for more. It was all it was. I think my original ask may have been Amon-Ra instead of Tony.
Yeah, that's my block is the Kadarius Toney. I'm like, could you make him better?
I tried.
And Amon-Ra would have been that.
And Tony's one of those guys where I think if he can stay healthy for like the first 5-6 games and do a percentage of what he looked like when he was healthy last year, I think his value will raise and steady out a little bit. I don't think he's going to be great by any means, but I think he can be a solid wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, and that's good in fantasy. So if I can this value and I could sell him for a second in 23, I'll be pretty happy with that.
It's not bad. It's good for a rebuild for sure.
Yeah,
to get
and since I had a trade that had absolutely no care about what direction my team was going, I absolutely made sure I could, point it back in that direction because still wasn't good enough to, even with Jonathan Taylor, to go in that way. But let's move on to Tyreek and Waddle. The first trade we have is 12-team 1 quarterback, Tyreek Hill and Saquon Barkley for J.K. Dobbins and Terry McLaurin. Tyreek Hill 696, Saquon 567.3 for a total of 1263. Dobbins 582.4, McLaurin 461.8, total of 1044. Even if you want to dock Tyreek for moving to Miami, which I think you should a little bit.
Yeah.
Like his ceiling isn't going to, you leave the best quarterback in the league, arguably, right now, and your value is going to go down a little bit. Not everyone's a Tua fan, so that hurts it even a little bit more. Waddle's there, so maybe that hurts it a little bit more for you, which I don't think it should, but I still want Hill well over Terry McLaurin, and even the analyzer has Saquon and Dobbins as pretty much an even swap. So I don't know why you do this, because you're not really getting much younger. I mean, Hill is 28, McLaurin's 26, and then Dobbins is 23 and Saquon's 25. Like, to me, that's not enough of a deal to like, I want to get a little younger, so let me make this trade. That doesn't really feed into it for me. So I'm holding on to Tyreek and Saquon and finding something better to do with it later.
Yeah, this was somebody 100% just like panic selling Tyreek.
Yeah, it feels like it.
Because
oh man, just up the next one.
Yeah, like Tyreek Hill, and I think what kind of solidified my like where I'm starting to head with my Tyreek Hill evaluation was I was listening to the Fantasy Footballers. They did their episode Tuesday, where they talked about kind of the Tyreek Hill trade a little bit, and how that helps Tua and stuff. And Mike pointed out that Tyreek was still very good with Alex Smith in 2017. And I just looked it up again. He had Tyreek Hill in 2017 with Alex Smith, 105 targets, 75 for 1180 and 7 was the wide receiver 9. Like, he is that good when you give him the ball. He is going to do amazing things. And that was the best season that Alex Smith ever had. So I definitely think that Tua could have, a similar type of season. Just get the ball into the hands of Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle, and Tua should be pretty good. And I think that Tyreek should also be pretty good. Like you said, the ceiling isn't there, like the end of season ceiling. I definitely think that Tyreek could have a couple games where he's like 8 for 150 and 1 or 2 again, just because.
Yeah, I don't think he has the wide receiver 1 upside, which I think he had before.
Right. Obviously, yeah, because you have Patrick Mahomes, and he's Patrick Mahomes and Tua are not the same. But this is a panic sell on Tyreek Hill, and think what you want about JK and Saquon Barkley. Tyreek and Terry McLaurin are not it. Terry McLaurin may never have a season that Tyreek Hill, could have with Miami. So
probably not.
Yeah.
Speaking of panic trading Tyreek Hill, 12-team Superflex, Tyreek Hill for a 23 first.
Oof.
Now, if you magically knew your draft order for the 23 draft class right now, and you tell me it's the 101, we can have a discussion. Right? But that's probably not the case. I can't say it's not because people play in some weird leagues, so maybe but not like this. No. Okay, so in the Outhouse Challenge, in the DDCL, where we did the Jonathan Taylor trade from, it's a 48-team 4-copy league, so there's 4 of every pick. I had 2 107s, and Tyreek Hill went for 2 107s. Because why would I want my draft picks when I'm trying to rebuild when I could have a 28-year-old wide receiver? Again,
So that's
no one.
essentially like 2 like 102s.
No, it's the 107 and 107. It was the 125 and 126.
Oh, okay. I'm with you.
Yeah, sorry. It's confusing to me, so I try and say it simply, and then when I say it simply, I think I say it too simply.
Then reverse psychology to me. I was
Yeah.
like, wait a minute.
And to me, like, that's more than a random 23 first. Like not much
No,
more.
107 could be the 23, could be a 23 first. Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of where the value crosses.
Would you give 2 23 firsts for Tyreek Hill?
Yeah.
If we're just talking 23 picks, I think you have to. I don't know if a first and a second will make someone do it,
Nah.
unless they are worried. Like if they are like, if me personally panic selling Tyreek Hill, I probably would sell for a first and a second. But I would want 2 firsts. Like I would counter with 2 firsts, and if it didn't work, I would just go back to the first and second and hope they accepted it again. But yeah, you need more. And again, no, it's not again because it's a different league setting. 12-team Superflex, Tyreek Hill is 535.8. The first is 384.2. Like that's a sizable difference. And I think we both agree that it should be Hill right here. It's more that you need more than 123 first.
Yep.
Let's get to the Jaylen Waddle side of this. This trade is Jaylen Waddle for Antonio Gibson in the 204. Pretty much dead even value-wise. Waddle at 574.7 and Gibson and the 204 at 576.3. Man, I want Waddle right here. Okay, so I like the idea of Antonio Gibson. I always have. I love the idea of Antonio Gibson with Carson Wentz as his quarterback. Carson Wentz dumps the ball off a decent amount. So I like the idea of what Gibson can be. I think we're past the point of hoping him being the top 5 running backs some people thought he was going to be before last season started. But I still think he can be, assuming he can play a season without turf toe like he played almost the entire season with last year. He could be like a high-end 2, low-end 1, and that's great. But Jaylen Waddle, man. Jaylen Waddle.
But Jaylen Waddle, man. I mean, yeah.
That's my analysis. But Jaylen Waddle, man.
Yeah. Do you want like a strong RB2 who's just good every week, or a strong wide receiver 2 with spike weeks? Yeah.
And if anything, you can get, if 2 weeks from now you decide to trade away the side of this trade you got, you're going to have a million times easier time. What a poorly put together sentence. Trading away Jaylen Waddle as opposed to Antonio Gibson and the second.
Right.
So every ounce of this is Jaylen Waddle to me, even though, like we said, the analyzer has it like dead even. Let's do horrible trades. The day after the Tyreek Hill trade, in a 12-team Superflex league, someone sold Juju-Smith Schuster for the 212. But why?
You know what? You want to know what's even funny about this? I laughed pretty hard whenever I saw this. So in the Trade Finder, it's like sorted by date and stuff. Literally, this one came up. So it was like the day after the Tyreek Hill trade. And then there was one right below this one, still the same day, the day after the Tyreek Hill trade. And it was just Juju for a 2023 first.
Exactly, right? The two different sides of what can happen.
Man, I was like, somebody really missed out on a whole lot of value here.
Okay, so I'm going to put the bad narrative hat on.
Uh-oh.
Juju-Smith Schuster can't be a wide receiver when he's a wide receiver too. Tyreek Hill leaving was terrible for him. Or next bad narrative, they're just going to bring someone else in. Tyreek's, gone, but they're going to draft someone in the first. They're going to bring in DK Metcalf because they're calling Seattle. And Juju's going to be terrible anyway. But wait, hold on. But which is it? Like, both of those are crap. But like those are the only two reasons I can see going through people's head, and it's absolutely both of those things are things people have said, and that's still not a lot. Like, you trade Juju away, you have to find someone who believes that he's going to be good in KC. That believes he's going to either do better without someone there or will be better when they bring someone else in, because MVS ain't the answer. I mean, they brought in Marquez Valdez-Scantling. That's not it. And let's also not forget Travis Kelce is still there. He's still the one. I mean, even with Tyreek there, Kelce was pretty much still the one. So Juju's fine. And even if they bring in someone else to, I'm going to say this carefully, play the Tyreek role, not replace Tyreek Hill, because literally you can't. There was no Tyreek Hill before Tyreek Hill. There most likely will be no Tyreek Hill after Tyreek Hill. Just the way it is. They bring in a down the field guy. Juju's not that. Juju is not a tight end. He's not going to play in the same space as Kelce is. He's going to have his own role. And let us also not forget, they tried to get him last year, so they had an idea to use him anyway. So I am all for Juju on the Chiefs, regardless of what they do. And I'm going to put my biased, hoodie back on and say, this is ridiculous. Juju is very good. It has a very bad circumstances. And even if you don't, why would you do this? If the Chiefs come out, how bad would the first few games of the season have to be for Juju for you not to get the 212? Bad.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
Bad. Like, there's no reason to do this trade now. And let's flip this. Good for you for getting Juju for the 212, whoever you are. Like, yeah.
I would have taken Juju over the 212 right when Juju signed. Like, and that would have been like, he's like the wide receiver 2, maybe, with Tyreek and Travis Kelce still there.
And let's push past the idea of this bad draft class. I would have taken Juju over the 212 last year. I'll take Juju over the 212 next year.
Can you imagine, like, if you just take Juju out of it, let's say that the Chiefs draft a wide receiver in the first round, they get Garrett Wilson, and then they draft another wide receiver in the third round as well to make up for losing Tyreek. Where would that third round rookie be drafted in rookie drafts in Super?
Not the 212.
Earlier than the 212.
Earlier than the
right?
212, yes.
It would be like at minimum a mid. Like that rookie's gone by 206.
Yep.
So it's not the 212. And Juju's better than any round 3 rookie that would be in this class. Yeah.
I'd say it again for the people in the back, but if you need to hear that again, hit that back button to rewind 5 or 10 seconds, maybe hit it 2 or 3 times by the time I'm done saying this, and just listen to what Addison just said again. It's brilliant. It's perfect. You know what? We're ending on that note. That's how good it was. Thank you, everyone, for watching the DLF Trade Show. Russ Fisher at Dynasty Outhouse, Addison Hayes at AmazeHayes_. Go buy some Juju-Smith Schuster. We'll see you next time.